We open on a hazy mirage vision of a place hundreds of miles away. The golden sun mercilessly beats down upon a city of white towers. A colossal wall of the same substance enshrouds a city that stretches as far as the eye can see. Alabastria, the cradle of mankind, stands in the southeastern corner of this desert, and a miasma of rotting corpses piled up to a man's head between rows of tenement buildings 5 stories tall swelters in what scarce shade there is to be found beneath a blazing sun. A man clings to the shadows, bearing a basket of swaddled cloth. The soft murmurings of the infant inside is choked by a wet hacking, and the man peers down to gaze upon his son. Rivers of tears run down his face, and as he sets the basket down one final time, he spares a last glance before turning and disappearing into the plague-swept city streets once more. A man with a shaven head and ornate golden tattoos that reach down his brow reaches his hands out behind yellow robes and picks up this basket. A sorrowful look crosses over his face once he takes in the state of the babe within. In the next scene, there is a dispute between this man, with the sun between his eyes, and one of his attendants. I lead this temple, and I say the boy will live. If we turn our backs on the principles that we swore ourselves to, then what right do we have to say we follow the teachings of the gods? I would not order another to go in my stead. I will go myself. A look of shock passes the attendant's face, and he bows, taking a step back. After a fade to black, a torch lights in the dark, and the man's tan face with the gold tattoo between his eyes is all we can see, nothing behind him but hungry black. The camera pans down to show he's carrying a child in one hand. He looks down, saying, "My young boy, I sincerely hope this will work." As he walks into the gaping darkness, we come back in on the shrine with Iara and the woman of the wood next to Hope. The kitty has curled up in Hope's lap and is now, looking up at him. Its tail is over its nose as if it's smelling something it doesn't like, but it's concerned for the young man.
Yara's probably pacing back and forth, bow in hand, as she keeps an eye on the perimeter. As Yara's pacing, she'll turn to the woman and say, "If you'd like to get some shut-eye or anything, I don't mind keeping watch for a while."
Thank you. That would be very nice. It has been a long day. Really nosh. Old girl, very tired. I will curl up. She stumbles over to around Hope and curls up next to Pilinosh, who opens an arm and just puts it around her and then drags. We can see the claw marks in the ground as it pulls the woman in. And like a light, she's out, snoring loudly.
Yara doesn't care about that. It's more trying to figure out if that's terrifying or envious. On the one hand, it's probably very comfortable, but on the other hand, Yara would be worried about the bear rolling over on her in her sleep, crushing her. And she probably spends the rest of her shift thinking about that, while also periodically checking on Hope, still breathing, comfortable, and darkness in his veins. It doesn't seem to be spreading to his heart or any vital areas.
Give me a medicine check.
My favorite thing. Actually, I don't think I even know where the human heart is located now that I think about it.
You are not quite sure how or why, but you're kind of certain at the end of a couple hours, by the time the guys arrived to the cave. He's looking worse. Don't know how. He's wetter. He's probably sweating more. The cat is snuggled up on his chest as if it's trying desperately to comfort him.
My method is I poke him every once in a while, and if he twitches a little bit, then that's good. He didn't twitch this last time. Something's wrong.
Okay. He stops twitching after about an hour.
I'll wake up the woman. I poke at the woman with the end of my bow, because I'm not trying to startle the bear.
Yeah, just her hair is sticking out, so you poke the tip of her head, and she kind of slowly stirs and rolls over under the bear's arms. You just see her green eyes poking out at you, Yes? Is it morning already?
No, sorry to wake you so soon, but I fear that my companion's getting worse, and I don't know much about medicine and healing. You seem to know more than I. Thought you might be able to check on him and see if there's anything you can do while we're waiting for the rest of the ingredients.
Yes, I take a look. She pulls herself out of the bear. Like, just the bear doesn't move. It's just stone cold sleeping. She sets herself upright. Looks like she's gonna fall over for a second. She's like, oh, vertigo. And then she walks over and begins taking a look at him. Does that thing where she squats down next to him again. She opens his eyes, and from where you're standing, you can see the sclera is yellowed. The iris itself looks like it is weeping blood, and the pupil is breaking the inside of the iris down as it is fracturing outwards. She lets the eyelid close. I'm hoping your friends are returning soon. If they do not return in time, there is nothing to be done. You might help now. I need you to find blue flowers with red thorns. They have yellow stem sticking out the center. It will make tea I will give him. It will make him sleep harder. Poison works slower. She nods.
You want me to go into the dark woods and look for a flower?
Blue flower, red thorns. She nods at you, gives you like a half smile. It grows near the base of a tree with blue jays that nest in. Will likely be in this area. Every other part of these woods, like your friend here. She points down.
Wonderful. I will light a torch. Go on my way.
Okay, give me a survival check. Iara, it takes you a good 10 minutes, but finally when you come back, you see that the cat is staring like next to Hope, standing on all 8 of its legs, just looking at him. Its length goes about down his shoulder to the length of his elbow. And it looks up at you, gives you this very distressed meow.
Just look down at the cat like, I knew, but got to remain hopeful. Iara will give the flowers to the woman and then begin preparing a campfire so we can boil some water for the tea.
Oh, she's already done that while you were gone. She puts the flowers in there and kind of lets them stew for a minute or two before she takes out a small cup, fills it. It's made of wood. And she just hands it to you like, give.
Don't know if you want to entrust me with this, but okay.
He's just open mouth, pour in. He's not hard.
You don't know my history, but that's okay.
He's no surgery.
You say that. Just worried I might drown him. Gingerly pick up his head, pull his mouth open, and carefully put some water down it. Some the tea down it.
You pour the tea down his mouth, and after a moment, his breathing goes even less rapid. You begin to get this knot, this pit in your stomach before she says, he's okay. He's sleeping. He sleep hard. Poison slower moving now.
Hey, doesn't feel like he's breathing, but suppose I'll trust you.
The little 8-legged cat brushes up its legs against you, and then all of a sudden you feel its weight on your shoulders. Right here, like you're still kneeling down over Hope, and it's like puts the top of its head against yours, looks down at Hope. So this little mournful meow.
Doesn't say anything this time. Just gets up, nods to the woman, goes back to patrolling.
Can I get a perception check from you?
The only thing that's really keeping her mind, off of constant worrying, but I'm not doing a very good job of that either. I'm too distracted by the worrying to fully focus on keeping watch.
Piddly Nosh begins to stir as the woman of the wood comes to like lay back down, like climb back, and Piddly's not having it. Just stands up, begins stretching and walking around. The woman of the woods kind of shrugs like, fine, walks over to this tree, puts her back up against it, and just dozes off once more. Piddly begins walking around. Can I get another perception check from you?
Having Piddly watching with me kind of helps. Don't want to get shown up by a bear.
Now cognizant of the bear's wakefulness, you see what roused the poor lass. She is stirred by a rumbling in her tumbly. She begins making her way over to the saddlebags that are on the ground next to Bessie, who is eyes wide and uncomfortably rustling and trying to stamp and get away from the bear, but is tied to her moorings and is at risk of breaking if you do not intervene.
Can I roll a performance check to distract the bear into coming over to me?
What do you do?
I actually have some food in my pockets, and I pull out some dry beef and start waving it around.
Ridley stops what she's doing and then like turns over to look at you and starts waddling forth, sits down on her hind legs and like opens her mouth with her paws up, like, oh.
I toss the meat into her mouth and then go over to the horse. I'll take out some more rations and throw them off in the other directions. The bear goes and eats them.
Yeah, Pidley walks off to the other side of camp, away from where you left the rations, and you can give me a nature check to calm down Bessie.
I'm not great with animals.
Give me a reflex save, please. You get out of the way in the nick of time as you approach from the rear of the horse, not really knowing any better. And as it lashes out and tries to kick you in the gut, you are fine, but you are now very wary that approaching the horse from the rear is not a good idea. You're gonna spook the horse.
Not good at medicine. I'm not good with animals. One day I'll find my calling.
Now at least you know which angle to approach from.
But I just can't learn. I am stubborn and I insist that I must approach this horse from the back. It will be on my terms, not on the horse's.
Oh my goodness. Give me another reflex save.
Good thing I'm quick on my feet.
You dodge out of the way again. Luckily, horse kicks are lethal.
Can I just do an acrobatics check to jump on the horse and try and just pull its restraints and calm it down that way?
Okay.
Yeah.
When it kicks, you dodge out of the way, jump onto the horse's back, and I'm going to give you a third attempt here with a circumstantial +2 nature check to calm this horse down.
I'll re-roll it. I've got hero points. I'm gonna break this horse.
Bessie is a spirited horse. Jasper knows it.
Why do you hate me, Forge?
The horse slips its moorings with you on back. With a powerful neigh, it rears up. I'm going to give you a choice here, Iara. Do you take the tumble off the horse and let her go?
Well, hold on.
You're going to hold on?
We're going for a ride. I'm not losing this horse. Jasper will kill me.
Bessie, with Iara on top of her, no saddle, by the way, just having a really, really rough day, takes off into the woods. We zoom in on Hope's face, the black veins slowly beginning to encroach on his visage. And as we do, we fade into a age long past. The golden sun shines upon ivory towers, lining a beautiful and expansive city. The interior of this large tower is clean and kept orderly by resplendently yellow-clad monks, each with tattoos of the sun in different parts about their head. A young boy, his hair recently shorn, is being sat in front of a group of fellow students his age. There's a pool exposed to the sun with gentle water that laps around. The teacher gives their lesson. Hope, can you explain to us what kind of student you were?
But I think Hope was a little mischievous as a younger kid, probably fiddling around with something or drawing something on his...
Drawing something? Okay. Why don't you go ahead and give me a d20 roll? You are just a child. You don't have anything that's developed yet. A natural one. What are you drawing, Hope?
Probably a picture of the teacher's shiny bald head or something.
As you are doodling with your quill on this papyrus, you feel a sharp, cold smack on the top of your fleshy, shorn head, and your teacher, Brother Mauld, looks down at you like, oh, that's supposed to be me, huh? You're hopeless.
Clutching his head, he's like, that hurt. I'm telling.
Do you run off to tell on him?
You roll on it. All right, I run off. I'm like, I don't need this. I don't need anything. Spill the ink onto the table or whatever and take off.
This priceless black ink just falls off the table, shatters on the ground, and little Hope scampers off into the halls of the monastery. Down the stairs he runs and through the many corridors until finally he reaches the massive entrance doors where you can see Master Amon standing after having just closed the doors, administering a few words of advice to members of his community. He looks down at you and sees the wells of tears that are running down your face and, oh, Hope, what's the matter? He like grabs your hands.
I gesture to the palm-sized indentation in my head, like, he hit me.
Oh, did he hit you? And he like takes your head. Come on. Tell me what happened. And he begins leading you into this large garden area in the very center of the property on the opposite side of the tower.
Was drawing my masterpiece. I guess I should have listened to the lesson.
Tell me, Hope, what was he teaching you?
I try to recall the lesson, to no avail.
He kind of frowns a little bit and says, now Hope, how are you ever going to accomplish what the gods put you here to do if you aren't taught what to look for?
He starts to explain. He's like, you didn't see what I saw.
He gets this solemn expression on his face and kind of nods. What did you see, my son?
It's all ruined now, our work.
He looks down at you, puts an arm steady on your shoulder. Ruin is simply a state of things, like ice is for water. Things must be destroyed so that they can be remade more beautiful. And he hands you a quill and some ink and some papyrus. Nods, smiling. Try again. And the vision fades. A few years older than we last saw Hope. He is now a young man and in a completely different training style. Him and those around his age range, approximately 12 to 14, are studying martial arts, a technique being demonstrated to them by an elder of their order. After a flurry of blows is unleashed by the mentor onto a number of training dummies made from desert-dwelling wood, the mentor steps down, addresses his class, and bows, saying, now you try. There is a dummy in front of each and every individual one of you. Hope, can I please get a d20 from you, buddy?
Wait, I use a hero point for this one. Don't laugh at me, please. All right, laugh at me, do it.
You hit the dummy, and you strike it with enough force that when it spins around, you're not anticipating the back end. The gyro causes it to spin around with just as much force as you hit it, and you feel the weight of your own blow smacking you into the face, and you come tumbling to the ground with one of your teeth knocked out and the taste of copper thick on your tongue. Blood wells out of your mouth, and on all fours, you come to, your vision hazy, the mentor standing above you, hopeless. He shakes his head.
Just holding his mouth, he'll be like, I'll show you one day, old man.
In the next scene, we see a veritable tournament amongst you and your brothers. Upon reception of your rank and induction into the order, given your yellow sash to denote you as belonging to the Brotherhood, but not before fighting one who will not make it. Hope, please make a d20 roll for me. It is a hard and long-fought victory. You bite down and struggle with everything within you. You trade blows with the young man for minutes until you can feel your own ribs broken in your chest. With a final strike, you fly through the air, landing the heel of your foot on the back of his head. And when the dust clears, you are the only one left standing. You receive your sash, and you can see Master Amon, who is bestowing it upon you, tears of pride in his eyes. You've never seen him so proud. He bows to you after putting it around your torso and says, I always had faith.
I give him a bloody smile back, Thank you, Master.
As the young man who you defeated is taken out by intercessor monks, he looks behind you to the field of blood and broken dreams that you have just walked to get to where you are today. You will be a fine brother, Hope. the best of us.
I won't let you down.
So in the next scene, we see you and Pascal standing above a garden on the rough shingled roof of the monastery, overlooking the city of Alabastria. The city streets, so different than we saw them at the previous instance. The piles of dead are gone from here. It is clean and a beautiful, resplendent place that the sun shines down the avenues and catches the golden light adorning the white architecture.
So we're outside the monastery right now.
You're on like a roof overlooking the city, but you're still very much inside the monastery. You're like hundreds of feet up. Tell me a little bit about Hope's best friend.
I'd say he was more of a rival at first. It's like Gary from Pokemon, you know. We were always going head to head to see the best technique, who could blindside the other in our little duels, sparring. And through our fists, we grew to understand each other, started hanging out and doing everything together.
There's a patrol that surrounds the monastery itself that is of monks, not city guardsmen. And you can hear Pascal muttering something under his breath before he clears his throat and says, "You know, I think I want to lead the Golden Protectorate one day. Master Corin, he can't do it forever. Master Corin's pretty old too, so by the time you and I are coming into our prime, I bet we can take whatever spot we want." Looks at you with these big doughy eyes.
Hope will reflect on the past, how they grew up together, and he agrees he'd make a great leader, and he likes his vision, you know, for the future.
What about you? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Hope's gonna consider, and I haven't thought that far yet. My goal is just to keep getting better and learning more and more, helping Mr. Amon.
He kind of smiles and smirks at you like, "Yeah, Master Amon kind of favors you, huh?"
Well, kind of is like father to me.
Right, you never knew your father.
This is all I know, but I don't miss him.
Me and the others, we didn't come here until 12, but you've lived your whole life in this monastery. You don't know anything about what it's like outside, do you?
Yeah, Hope will take a look out and say maybe they're like us out there, looking for dreams, living day to day.
Kind of scoffs for a moment and looks back over at the city. I remember what everyone was like. They were so worried about time and so worried about money and power. A lot of good people die with the dreams of bad people.
Then our job to help them.
Yeah, I think you're right, but that's what I'm going to do. We both know Master Amon here is going to prepare you for his position. If I'm the leader of the Golden Protectorate, I'll keep you safe. Don't worry. You just make sure that everybody in the monastery has everything that we need. You know, if we need like some new training dummies or something, Master Amir is always complaining about those things.
Hope will make a promise. He says by the 7, I'll make it happen.
He smiles at you and we see his hand put on your shoulder. A few years on, a city blackened by smoke-filled skies. There's this empty, gnawing chatter that resonates off of the streets, and we come to recognize that as rats chewing the bodies strewn in their masses, piled as high as a man's head. Hope, now 16, stands with Master Amon, who you know well enough to recognize as fighting back tears, weeping for the people of the city. Nothing can be done. My son, I pray to the gods day and night. He slowly turns to face you, the back of the city silhouetting him. They do not answer me in the way they once did. I fear the new words of the prophets. They do not coalesce with the old ways. They will be the death of man. Mark my words. He gives you this kind of mournful look. The gods never meant to have their hand in alchemy. That is why they give us their miracles. I fear for the future of our people. He begins to cough up blood into his robe before he can even put up his hand to catch it. Just a splot that goes down the front, staining the yellow, the deep crimson. After a moment of a choking fit, he rights himself on his desk.
Master, are you well?
He tries to speak before breaking into another coughing fit. Hope, please make me flat D20 for medicine. He stumbles into his very plain chair. You help him kind of right himself as he looks back up to you, and clearing his throat, he mutters, "Water, water, please."
Hope's gonna run for it. He scans the area to see There's some water.
You find some on a shelf on the opposite end of the room.
Fills the cup and brings the pitcher as well and helps him drink.
Make a flat d20 fortitude saving throw for me. You don't feel the pitcher, the smooth glass slide out of your hand, but you hear it shatter, the water splashing around your feet. The next thing that you come to see is your own face on the ground, the water beside you, pooling around you. Bolting down the bend of this great hill, weaving in and out of trees off the road at this point is Bessie the horse. No saddle, no bridle. Iara, there's a river 300 feet away. You are headed straight for it, and Bessie does not seem to know because she is just head down weaving in and out of trees. What do you do?
Is this considered combat at all?
I mean, you're not fighting anything, no, but it is an encounter.
If it's not combat and this is a creature, and I use quick coercion on it, I don't know if you can converse with a horse.
I like it, so what I'll say is you can use that. It's just not going to be a one-for-one effect here. A horse is not capable of understanding common, so it's not going to know exactly what you want it to do, but you can try to steer it towards the behavior that you want it to perform.
I'm just trying to coerce it into stop running so we don't both die. I try and pull myself forward and start speaking in a reassuring tone in its ear, knowing full well it can't understand the words, but I'm talking to it calmly and stroking its mane and just trying to get it to calm down enough to stop. Also kind of, doing the gentle tug on its mane to indicate that, oh, slow down.
Yeah, go ahead and give us that roll. Intimidation.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that is exactly what you needed. So the horse stops really abruptly, and then you see that there's this knoll that it's standing over the top of. Having stopped it just in time, you feel as though the horse is going to rear up and try to arrest some of its momentum.
Acrobatics to wrap my arms around its neck and hold on.
Iara,
I have 3 HP, so I think I'm gonna reroll that. There we go.
there you go. That is a success. You hold fast to Bessie as she rears up, and you can feel your own feet dangling behind you. For a moment, you worry she's going to be unbalanced by your weight on her and go tumbling off, but you shift your positioning on her to put the front of the horse back down sooner than she had anticipated, and now she is back on all fours, and you are safely on top of the horse.
Did I just defy physics like Legolas, where he does like the backward swing on the horse?
Almost.
He does his little I'm walking on sunshine bit.
Well, I'll take it. I just start petting the horse again, like, whoa, we're okay. Once it seems that the horse has properly calmed down, very gingerly get off. I imagine I probably still have a few random items on me. I hadn't fully disrobed for the evening or anything, so whether it's a piece of rope or just something I can find to kind of tie the horse and keep it in place for a moment so I can gather my bearings, figure out where I am and how to get back to where everyone else is.
You tie a loop around Bessie. The horse is bedraggled. You can see there's some shallow cuts, little superficial cuts where she ran by some thorned bushes, some branches that broke off. She's literally got a twig sitting on her head. She's breathing very heavily, and she's looking at you like, are we gonna die? Her big brown eyes just taking you all in at once.
I'm just like, if we are, it's your fault. Do the gentle pat on her side, like, it's all right. We'll be fine. I kind of look around to see if maybe there's a water source nearby or somewhere that both go and properly rest for a few moments.
There's a river about 200 feet down the way, the direction that you guys were headed, actually.
I wait until we've both caught our breaths, and then I lead her down to the river and use the water to kind of clean off her sides while she's probably drinking.
How well do you think Iara knows, like, these specific animals, given that they might not be the most common thing in Alabastria?
Unless they were used in the guard, then probably she's either just seen them from a distance. You know, maybe some of the nobles or royalty had some in the city, but otherwise they weren't used in her clan. They probably weren't used in the guard because they were more of a patrol type of guard. Not much experience.
Yeah, that makes sense if you're not super familiar with horses then. So you're not really sure how she's taking everything as a horse, but what you do know for certain is that she seems to have tuckered herself out. She does not want to run right now. She is just, okay, we're going this way now. We're going, all right, cool.
In that case, we'll probably sit for a good 15 minutes or so, gather our strength, and then I'm thinking a survival check to try and... I probably know the general direction back, but I'll try and find the path that she probably left so we can return the same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me what your passive perception is.
13.
You begin traversing your way back through the woods, and Yara, it becomes quickly apparent to you that this landscape is not what you're particularly familiar with. You might be a little bit more familiar with like steppe or desert type of environments, and the lush greenery has this way of kind of turning you around and everything looking the same. There's no road to follow, and get turned around pretty quickly. And sooner or later, after what you've been walking for, what you've experienced is like 20 minutes, you are back up at the knoll that you almost fell off of just about, call it 40 minutes ago.
I have one less in nature, but can I try and use nature to see if the horse will lead us back? They are known to do that kind of thing.
The horse refuses to lead you back. It's like, you're trying to take me back in the direction where the big monster is that I think was trying to eat me? Like, nah, dude, I'm gonna chill right here.
Well, I'm sorry to do this, Bessie, but I guess I'm gonna have to intimidate you into going back. So I get back on the horse, and I'm gonna do I pointed in the direction I believe the camp to be in, and I do the whole yeah, and try and startle it into running back. And hopefully once it's heading in that direction, its instincts will kick in and take us back to camp.
All right, so as you slap Bessie's ass, the horse, you feel like it's about to rear up again, and instead it just like goes up and then comes down on its front legs, kicks out with its back legs, and before you know it, it is off. I need a reflex saving throw from you.
I think Iara is not a horse person after this. She's just gonna walk everywhere from now on. But I hold on. I am at least good at holding on.
Yeah, exactly. The good news is that you do hold on. The bad news is that as the horse bolts off, and it is in the direction that you pointed it, which you are pretty sure you knew which way to go after getting back to the knoll, you point it off in the direction, it takes off, and instead of going right around this big rock with a tree that's growing out of the middle of it, it goes left. And what it didn't know was there is what looks like just a small puddle in the middle of the foliage is not a small puddle. Poor Bessie slams straight into a massive mound of quicksand. Bessie, stuck in the mud, is neighing and baying and flailing vigorously. She was tuckered out, but she has a little bit of fight left in her. She's making herself sink all the quicker. What do you do?
Well, I'm still on her back, correct?
Yeah, you can free yourself very easily. You'd just be pushing her further down into the quicksand to do so.
This quicksand seems pretty deep, like eventually the horse would completely submerge, or would it just...
Yeah.
I've got rope already around its neck. How long is rope?
100 feet.
100 feet of rope, okay. Is there anything nearby? Something sturdy, like a tree?
Sure.
And how submerged is the horse so far?
Up to its neck. If what you do doesn't succeed on this round, its head is going to be the only thing that will be sticking out next round.
Iara looks at the rope and the grappling hook that she had originally been rummaging for, as that was the first thing that came to mind, to maybe try and use some type of leverage to get the horse out. But given how quickly the horse is sinking and how not muscular Iara is, she quickly realizes that that's not a feasible option and kind of looks around to make sure that there's nobody around to witness what she does next.
Give me an Arcana check.
So Iara reaches one hand around the horse to cover its eyes and then pulls the glove off of her other hand, revealing a metal implant on her hand that is in the shape of a triangle with the points pointed down towards her fingers. And in the center is a green stone, which glows faintly as she waves her hand over the sand, and rocks form beneath the horse, pushing it up out of the quicksand, allowing it to walk out.
Fantastic. Yeah. So as you channel your will into this device implanted onto the back of your hand, it burns incredibly hot, not enough to cause literal damage, but enough to hurt. And the bindings that you placed around it, the ink burning away, signifying the spell, the ritual that you placed on it, no longer affecting it. It is completely active. The horse, Bessie, neighing, picks herself out using the rocks that you create underneath her hooves, and very wobbly and very shakily she comes lunging out like a horse running out of a river. And after she gets up, she breathes for a moment very heavily and then just kind of leans down and literally just laying down, completely exhausted to the point where she doesn't even want to stand.
One thing Iara does know about horses is that they almost never lay down in front of people because that's a very vulnerable position for them. So she will respectfully give Bessie some space to say hey, you just lay there. I'm not gonna approach you and harm you.
When you start to walk away from her, you see her kind of rocking as if she's trying to get closer to you. And when you look back, she's waving her head like she's trying to get it close to you. She understands somehow that you just got her out of that situation, and she's really, really grateful for it.
Seeing that the horse doesn't seem to mind her presence, Iara will go over, pat it again, take a seat by it, and also catch her breath. And then they will probably reach into her pack, give the horse an apple, and she'll start eating one too.
Yeah. The horse very gratefully chomps it down in 2 bites. I need to make a dice roll. You hear a stirring in the underbrush just off to the side. You can see something trying to take cover behind a tree. You immediately recognize this as a Gretchen trying to hide from you and thinking that it has the drop on you. It rolled a natural 1 on its stealth versus your passive perception.
Iara does not want to deal with this whatsoever. She doesn't know a lot about Gretchen, but she does know that they're a bit more animalistic, for lack of a better term. So she's just gonna jump to her feet and start waving her hands and yelling and running in the direction of the Gretchen and trying to intimidate it into running away. I'm covered in mud, I've got sticks in my hair, I'm probably a terrible sight to behold, especially screaming and flailing around as I run in the direction of this hopefully singular Gretchen.
Iara, not only do you sufficiently scare this creature off, because you got a critical success, he drops the arrow that he was about to thread into his bow and just turns tail and sprints off into the forest. You see the fletching on that arrow as that midnight blue, midnight violet of the sleep arrow that you identified before.
Free arrow, I say, and very carefully put it in my quiver. Then I collapse to the ground and probably lay there for a good 20 minutes before getting back up.
The sound of shifting sheets echoing off of the very flat, very sheer ivory structure of the tower we have come to know as belonging to Hope's monastery. There is nothing in the room save for a row of empty beds and a single person inside, Hope. The first thing that your eyes take in, daylight shining in through the window, glinting off of a somehow tarnished, solid gold filigree set into the wall, made to reflect the light of the sun in the interior of this chamber. Instead of the normal golden glow that this room should be cast in, instead it's an eerie green amber. What do you do?
That's strange. Hope's gonna take a look around to see what else has changed.
Give me a perception check. There's a steep, stark black to everything that you are very unfamiliar with. The sound of the temple bells that are typically continuously going for the entirety of the sun being in the sky are currently not at all going off. There is a deep, resonant shine and shimmer of a large, hollow gong that seems to resonate off of the very walls within this tower. And in the entire time that you've lived in this monastery, you can't recall hearing them before, but there is some strange familiarity of it to you. As familiar as the beat of your own heart, and it's coming from below. You're aware that the infirmary of the monastery is about halfway up the tower.
I'll go investigate.
Again, there's no one to be found. Things are already typically quite ascetic. It is a monastery after all, but there is almost no difference to the interior of this place other than the lighting. There's no birds. Last time you were awake, you could remember the sound of the eagle's cries being replaced by that of the crow's caws, but now there's nothing.
Hope will feel a chill with the atmosphere. He feels something must be up, and he'll make a dash for the bell.
You make your way down to the ground floor. The interior of the tower is locked. The door is very much held in place by mechanisms and large golden adorned heads of creatures. Those two, golden as they are tarnished. In fact, everything down here that should normally be glittering gold has this thin film, some substance, and in some places even splotchier and more encompassing of the surface area. You come across a large, what you remember to be a mirror, something set into the base of this tower. It looks like the metal is rotting. There's no other term for it. Rotting.
Hope checks to see if he's dreaming or not. Maybe a pinch.
The skin is inelastic with dehydration. You don't wake up.
Well, at the surprise of it not being a dream, Hope's gonna shout, "Hello? Anyone here?"
The only reply is your own voice echoing off of the white stone of the tower.
There must be someone manning these bells. Yeah, I'll investigate to see who's using them.
You find yourself back in front of this large circular mirror on the inner wall of this tower. You take a moment to look at it. Can I get a perception check from you? That is a critical success.
I'm gonna place my hand on the mirror and say a little prayer. Say, "Malik, I beseech you, what is happening here?"
In absence of the warmth you'd anticipate your prayer to give you, the cold surface of the mirror carries no reflection, seems to spread along your right arm. You can feel your hand press through it, about halfway up your forearm, and you can feel something circular press against the palm of your hand, Hope. Colder than this strange gel-like texture that is leaching the warmth from your right hand.
Try to withdraw my hand.
And as you pull, your fear begins to build. And as dread tugs on the edge of your spirit, your hand breaks free from the frame. Flesh and bone. Nothing in your hand, but the mirror. The mirror begins to fade before your very eyes. and the metal that is rotting burns with an incandescent green fire in the shape of sigils that hurt your eyes to gaze upon. Beyond this slowly fading substance, a stairwell leading down, tinged with black, beckons.
Hope's gonna look around one more time. He'll take a step down the steps.
You know how to walk silently. You weren't doing that on purpose, but you find your footsteps muffled.
I'll try to make some type of noise, see if they say something.
Your words are drowned out as if in the presence of a great storm, but you can still feel your mouth moving. You can still make out the syllables and the sounds. There's no echo. You can hear yourself, but we take for granted that we always hear our voices bouncing off of the walls around us, and there's none of that. It's disorienting.
Well, as I make my way down, I'll say, Father, what is this place?